Hello and welcome to Reflections. I'm your girl Nadine Edwards. Thank you for joining. I hope as you listen today you'll be inspired, uplifted, motivated in your continued pursuit of becoming a better version of yourself. As usual, if you have not already done so, please go ahead and subscribe. And if you like today's episode, I would appreciate if you leave a comment, and even share it with your friends and loved ones. Today I have with me another guest, someone I consider a strong black woman, and as you listen to her story, you'll understand why I say so. We have been in touch for over 10 years, and I remember there was a point in time when we had our storms going through. I recall when I was studying in the US, California to be specific, I was facing the challenges of trying to finish up university, trying to find solutions to prevent my house from going into foreclosure, and also deal with the challenges that come with life after graduation. During this time we were in touch, and I remember she shared our challenges of dealing with a very difficult marriage while trying to get through dentistry school. And for those of you who are in the medical field, whether you're a pediatrician, a medical doctor, a gynecologist, a dermatologist, or even a dentist, you will agree that studying medicine is no walk in the park. So without further ado, I introduce to you Sardia Morgan Helps, who will share how this phase of her life has contributed to the woman she is today. Welcome, Sardia, and thank you so much for taking the time to share on this Reflections podcast. I am confident that something from your story will be an inspiration and a tower of strength to someone who may be going through what you have gone through, and take away words of hope and provide some amount of guidance as they face a very difficult relationship at this time. Welcome again, and thank you for being here.
Hi, Nadine. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
What a life.
Yes. That's putting it lightly. What a life, yes.
You know, when I listened to your story, it reminded me that sometimes we as women don't know the level of strength we have until we have no choice but to be strong.
Yes.
Go ahead and share with us how you met your then husband and how the problems developed after marriage, even as you set out to fulfill your dream to become a dentist.
Okay, so I met my husband at a church camp when we were children. So I was going to the camp from was about 6 or 7 years. And we started talking when I was in my teenage years. My family knew them and, their family. So it was pretty easy, but I wasn't really focused on having a relationship, deep type of, relationship like everybody else would at that time. My focus was just going to school and getting, yourself qualified and educated. As my mother always taught us, get an education first. So I believed in getting an education first, husband later. We reconnected a couple of years later when I had completed that degree. But he was basically the first person that, I had really spoken to on a deeper level. And I had actually completed my master's after that. So I actually had 2 degrees before I became a dentist. And we reconnected and we decided that we were going to get married because we always kept in touch during those years. He, to me, was a very responsible person, very caring. I felt like I could, trust him with myself, to take care of whatever I need to. And, we spoke a lot about what we wanted, and it seemed that his views and his character aligned with mine. So I felt like it was okay for us to get married. So we spoke about it and we got married.
Before we get into that part, what were the values and characteristics that complemented your values and characteristics?
Well, we both grew up in a Christian Seventh-day Adventist home. So I knew that part would have been not a problem. We would have the same Christian values. That was 1. 2, I'm usually not a person who is over the top or fussy. And I didn't want anybody for that for myself. I don't want anybody who is demanding and who is requesting things of you and who is specific and nitpicking. And he was not that type of person. So I was okay knowing that, if I didn't do something today, that it would be okay. Because you don't want to wake up every day and it's like in your mind, you're constantly trying to keep up with making somebody else happy. That's draining. So I didn't want that. So he showed me that, I could be my own personal self while he would still remain happy with me in my own personal space. And that was important for me.
Right.
So he seemed to be a responsible person because I had a car and he would take over. You want your husband to be somebody that you can, rely on for certain things.
Right.
And he seemed to be that way. And those are the important things for me, because I didn't want a husband who was fussy and who wanted his food fixed a certain way. And because I heard the stories and I knew that I wanted simplicity in my life. And that was one of the things that I chose. So to be honest, I kind of started seeing some things, but I chalked it up as just me being over the top in my mind about certain things,
What were some of the things you saw?
He started to kind of like slack off in some of his responsibilities that we had agreed on. But it was at the point when we were purchasing the house, because we had gotten the house just when we were getting married. Okay. So, I just, since it was a one-off thing, I didn't really, look into it that much, because this is the house now and we're trying to really settle down and sort this thing out. So the house was purchased, we moved into it, we married. I mean, for the first year and a half, things were good, but you could see less of him in the house. He had a child before, and, I told him that it was okay for her to come and stay with us. She was living in less than ideal conditions, and I didn't feel it was right for us to be living, in a better condition and leaving her out. So she came and lived with us. And the more that we were there, I realized that it was as if he was comfortable. He was happy and he didn't care about whatever happened to me or the child. So I went through a severe period of abandonment because he would not come to bed until 2-3 o'clock in the mornings. If I wake up, I didn't see him because, I had to get the child ready for school. He didn't help. And it just got progressively worse. Like on Sunday mornings, he would wake up and just roll out of the bed and go to play football until 2-3 o'clock. And he would just come back and eat. He had breakfast well prepared, dinner prepared. His child's clothes were washed. His clothes were washed. Nobody asked me, you want some help? So it was as if I became the resident helper.
And it was a communication problem right there. So
yes, so he stopped talking. He never really started talking because he had this thing that he wanted to be a sound engineer, where you would do the sound for concerts and bands and that sort of stuff. And I think he became obsessive with it. So one of the rooms was he made it out into one of his studios. He spent all of the money there, even money that we never agreed on spending, he spent it there. And he spent 90% of his time in there, 90% of his time, probably more. So he would wake up, go to work, be there, come out, watch the news, go back inside until 4 a.m., 3 a.m. in the morning. I would not see him. So basically, I was there by myself with the child. So if her homework is to be done, I had to do it.
Was this man really in love? Because this is 1 year after, 1.5 years after being married.
I think a lot of times men kind of, I don't know if it's their upbringing or if you have men who seriously believe that once you're married, the wife becomes this, like a plaque or something that you put down. She's just there. And the role of a wife is to wash, cook, and clean and look after whatever. So once you're a wife, that's it. So I think that was it in the back of his head, because after a few years, I asked him, I said, you think that all of these things are just my role? And the only thing he looked at me and said, he's never asked me to mow the lawn. But I said, you don't do it either. We pay somebody to do it, So it's as if he thinks that there are definitely male and female roles and that he just left me there to do what I'm supposed to do as a wife.
Right.
And it just got progressively worse. But what got worse too was financially, he started to spend the money where I couldn't give an account for the money. So
You both share an account? You both share one account?
No, we didn't, because I was very particular with my money.
Okay.
But what happened was every time something happened, I would have to rescue. I would constantly have to be bailing him out of something or giving him money for something, and he's constantly borrowing. And I think the biggest one was when I actually started allowing him access to my credit card. And I never usually pay interest on my credit card. I would pay off everything all at once. And he, a loan amount, he put it put 200 and something $1,000 on it at one point and didn't pay it back. The bank was calling me, Miss Morgan, why is your credit card? This has never happened to you, So I was really going through a lot at that time. It was just a combination of all of those decisions and not paying attention. And it was just, if he was going out, I didn't know where he was going. He just get up and said, I'm gone. I'm going out the road. I don't know where he's going. I don't know who he's with. I don't know nothing at all. So we became basically strangers in the house. So he's spending something and I'm doing everything for the house, and he's spending money doing whatever he's doing with the money.
So who is doing what to make sure the marriage comes back to the point that it needs to be at to function as a marriage? We're talking about love. While we're off here, you mentioned that when two people get married, it's about sacrifices. Because if you're a selfish person, you're not going to survive in a marriage.
You're not going to make it, yes. If you're selfish, marriage is not going to work out for you. It's not. So you have to wake up every morning and thinking about the other person that's lying down beside you. That's what it is about, and that's the only way it can be kept. So if at any point in time you feel like, okay, you're going to be doing this thing about yourself and it's just about you, it's not going to work.
Right.
So it's just not going to work.
Right. It's about you making him happy and he making you happy.
So that's what the marriage contract is.
Right. So were you playing your part and how?
I was playing too much of my part. I think I was overcompensating because at this time I felt like, I was doing something wrong. So I started to clean more. I started to, because I felt like I was doing something wrong. And he also started, to want the house to be perfectly clean. And he's saying that I'm keeping the place in a mess. But, you have to take into consideration that there's a child at the house and she's playing and she's moving things around. So he wanted me to clean up after her. He wanted me to clean up after myself. And he wanted me to clean up after him. So I was tasked with the responsibility of keeping this house clean. And he was tasked with just, being, as he said, he wanted to be treated like a king in a palace. And, I'm like, no, because I go to work. I have to travel 2 hours in traffic to get to work in Kingston. And he works like 5-10 minutes from work. Okay. He gets home before me and I have to come home and cook. Okay. He gets home before me and I have to come home and clean. He gets home before me and I have to come home and help his daughter with her homework and stuff. Right. So it was like I was just this maid or helper and I served no other purpose. And I started...
What were you trying to do to make a difference with all that you were doing? What were you trying to do to pull him back in to say, hey, things are getting out of hand financially. You're not giving me any attention. You're going out and coming in very late. What were you doing to pull him in a little?
So what I always try to do spontaneous things. That's something that I loved. So I would, plan dinners, plan dates, book stuff. But I realized that I was always the one doing it. I would get a day pass, hotel, book hotel. I was always the one doing it. So I stopped. Everything.
After all,
and when about 2-3 years, I was like, it was draining me. And, one of the things that I did, I wanted to go to dental school, but I paused my studies so that he could go to school. I was encouraging him, you need to go, get yourself. Because at the time, he's a police officer. And at the time, when you improve your educational status, they'll elevate you in the force. And I was encouraging him that, since you have all of this money that you want to spend on your sound systems and the best thing to do is the money that you're working, that you have a surety of, make sure you get more of it so that you can put even more money into where you want, right? We took out a loan for him to go to school. He said he wanted to do this thing professionally. So, okay, fine. He went to school. He did not complete. And we still had the loan to repay. He kept on complaining that he knew more than these lecturers, that it was just overwhelming. And I'm like, we took a loan out for you to study. You have to complete your studies. No, he didn't think that it was necessary because all of these people that are coming to teach him, he knows more than them. So he never got the diploma or the degree to do at all. Yeah. And I realized that, this is going to be something that is obviously like a constant thing because this is now another loan that we have to clear that has not materialized into anything. Put it together with the credit card bill, right? And I decided, this person is not concerned about me or my well-being or what I want to achieve. And those were the combination of everything that forced me into going to school because at one point, he had started saying, that I can't, it doesn't make any sense that I go, so it's like, no, he's trying to stop my dream, even though I had stepped back to allow you to fulfill yours, even though you did not complete.
Right.
So I said it was only fair for me to complete my dream. So I decided to apply for school, and I was accepted. And when I told him, he was discouraging me, that he doesn't think that this is going to work out. But me, I know myself. I saw what was happening, that this constant financial issues, this constant, abandonment. And I realized that it was only getting worse each and every day. And he started to say belittling things, like if I dress up, my face upon too much makeup, he didn't like my hair. It was just these little jabs every day that just added up to me, realizing that this person is really trying to discredit who I am, to lower my self-esteem, to make me feel that I'm not worthy. So I think these people who they're narcissistic.
Right.
They do it so that they can keep people under their heels.
And feel better about themselves.
Yes. And that's the only way that they can survive. So they have to make somebody else feel worse so that they can feel better. And they do this to weak people, right? So if you remain under that kind of situation, you're going to be stuck for a very long time. You can't move. They're going to always have control over your finances. They're going to always have control over everything that you do. So I made it a point of my duty that I'm not going to be doing it anymore.
Right.
And that was when I forced myself to go to dental school, and I applied and was accepted.
But before you go any further, because while listening to your story, I'm seeing two people who were very much in love prior to marriage, had a lot in common. And then now that you're married, this person treats you like a stranger, as if...
I didn't know who was in that house. I didn't know the person. I didn't know anything. So I was confused for a very long time. And I started talking to some of my friends. I was in this group, I was in a ministry, and, we had some wives and stuff. We bonded together. And it was at that point that I realized that something is inherently wrong with my marriage. And not because I was comparing. It's not about comparing marriages or whatever. All of us had struggles. All of us had issues. We talked about, what kind of problems we had as women, as wives. But I realized that mine were different. Their husbands loved them and was willing to work out things with them. My husband didn't care. My husband never sat down and said, he thinks that he's doing something wrong, or, willing to. Their husbands did that. Mine didn't. So no matter what happened, even when, we talk about certain things, their husbands showed remorse, sorrow, and those are some of the things you look for. My husband had none of that. He had absolutely zero remorse for anything that he said, zero remorse or sorrow for anything that he did. And he just kept on going. He felt like he was entitled to whatever he was getting.
Did you think of counseling at any point?
Yes, I suggested counseling, and he said that the counselors are going to try to tell him how to live his life, and he didn't think that anybody should get that power to tell him how to live his life, and counselors cannot help.
So at what point in the marriage now did you decide to go to dentistry school, and what state of mind you were in emotionally at that point?
Well, I was at a low point, but I felt like if I went and I did this thing, I would be working significantly more money. So if he started to take money, I would still be okay. That was how I saw it. So if I work $500,000 more and he could take $100,000, I still had $400,000 in my pocket. But it was a part of my dream that I had as a child that I wanted to fulfill. But I saw it also as a way to improve our finances as well. And, even if I could help him to, fulfill whatever dream he wanted to without having to break our pockets.
Right.
So I suggested that to him. And, I said to him, I can guarantee, because he does well at his job, I said, I can guarantee that by the time I'm finished, you will get a promotion.
Right.
And believe me, that is exactly what happened.
So how many years into the marriage now you decided to go to dentistry school?
So it would have been 4 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you applied, went for the interview.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And then, right there in the interview, because I didn't even know, I was scared because I didn't know if I would be accepted. Fear holds you back and prevents you from doing so much. But I left it in God's hands. And I said, God, if these people accept me, this is all on you. Because I honestly didn't know the school fee. So when I was at the interview and they told me that this is $2.8 million per year, I was like, okay. I don't think I can go. But then I remembered that oh God, I had prayed that prayer prior to this interview. So what do I do now? Now that they have told me that they have accepted me right on the spot, and the man just told me that the school fee is $2.8 billion per year. And I'm like, why would you do this?
How many years?
I was toying 5 years. I was toying with the payment, and I was like, this is not going to work out. And I went home and I said it to him, and he started to discourage again to say, he doesn't think that you can go because the money is too much. And I prayed about it. And then I sat and I thought about how oppressing being in that marriage was. And I said, this might just be the way for us to get out of all of this financial rut and all of these problems. I said, I'm going to go. I said to him, I'm going to go, because my prayer was that if I got accepted, God would take me through. And I believe that was what happened.
Let me ask you this, because it was more than a financial rut. It was more than that. It was the emotional side, the communication.
It was the emotional, yeah. I just felt that dentistry would have been my mental escape.
Okay.
I would be able to take care of myself, even if he didn't take care of me, because I was not thinking of exiting marriage because we're stuck, because we're Christians and, you have to stay. That's what they're saying. So, this was just my escape to uplift myself and to feel right. And I said, I'm going to leave. I'm going to resign my job. I had some cash there from, your pension and stuff. And I said, I'm going to leave. I used all of that money, cleared all his loans, and he agreed to pay for the mortgage on my side because I wouldn't have any more loans and he wouldn't have any more loans. And he agreed to do that. I went to school, started off. I had some money. I would pay the mortgage every month for about a year and a half going into each second year.
Okay.
Student loan would fund some of the money and, some money came up and stuff. But when I got to third year, the money ran out. Mind you, he was supposed to be paying for the mortgage and he didn't. I just kept paying with the money that I had left. So he should have had some money because I cleared his loans.
Right.
And, I kept on asking him every month, have you been paying the mortgage? Have you been paying? Yes, everything is taken care of. My fault, because I should have checked. It's my account. When I told him 1 month, I said, listen, the money that I have is now finished. I have one more mortgage that I can pay. So just at this point, you should have some money. So, I was giving him a nudge to say, all right, you can take it over. I got a call one day from the mortgage company that my house has been redlined for auction. And I said, what are you talking about? They said, yes, this is about a year after I told him that, I had the last amount of money left. And he said that he's paying it. This is a year.
That it wasn't paid any at all?
Wasn't paid any at all. So I was supposed to be at school the day doing a practical exam. And they had called me when I just got on the school compound. When I got there, I couldn't even hold the handpiece. My lecturer saw, she said to me, are you okay? And I started to cry. I said, no, because, something is happening. And they told me that if we don't pay the money, they're going to put the house on the auction and, would have lost the house. So my friends, gathered around and they tried to console me and I was trembling for the day. So I got home and, I was saying, what happened with the money? I was trying to talk to him and it's just attitude, he's just being defensive and he's saying that they can't take the house because his side is being paid. So I said, you're supposed to be paying the two of them, And I said, let us go out there tomorrow and speak to, the mortgage company and see what's going to happen. When we got there, it was all of the money, the year's worth of money and more that was not paid. And they were asking, how are we going to cover the loan? I should also say that I was paying the majority of the bills because when I was working, I would go to the supermarket, I would pay the lights, I would pay, most of the bills I was paying. And so he should have some money, right? And they told me that, we needed to come to an agreement of how we're going to pay, etc., etc. When I got to the point, I said, let's sell the car, have the car sold and pay the money, and the rest of the money from the car, the gentleman told us we could pay in advance, so that at least we'll have a year or two that we don't have to worry about. He was upset, but we agreed because we didn't have any other funds. I signed the papers for the car was sold. So I told him just take the money to the place and let it be settled. I thought that this was done, the car was sold. I was at school. Honestly, I should have kept up with my business. But, having to deal with school and trying to get these exams out was a little bit stressful for me. And in about a month or two after, I got another phone call that they have not received any money at all.
And
At this point, I was, I don't know where I was at this point. And he told me that I don't know where the money is, but he never paid it. He actually went ahead and took out a loan to pay the mortgage that was left. And he didn't even tell me that's what he did, because the loan company called me because he put me as a reference on the loan. So I'm like, why would he? So it's all of these secret things that was just going on and on and on. So he took out a loan to pay the money. So that's how it was saved. And I don't know where the car money is until this day. I have no idea. So those were, a combination of things. And then I started to get really, really sick. Like every month, when I have my menses, I was, I had to be hospitalized to get painkillers because I was under a lot of stress. Eventually, I was told that I needed to do surgery. None of that happened. Nobody cared about my health or my well-being. So every month I would end up at the hospital praying that none of my exams would happen during this time, because I would not be able to take them. Right. And God was so good that none of that happened. Right.
So you were internalizing everything. You were. Yes. It was taking a toll on your body.
Yes, it was. And he didn't care. I remember one time when I got sick. We didn't have the car at the time. We took the taxi to the doctor, and then he left me there. He went to work. He left me at the doctor. And they said that I needed an emergency ultrasound, because this was now at a private facility. I had to walk in the pain, go across the road, get a taxi, ask them to drop me at the ultrasound place and get the emergency ultrasound by myself. No, at one point, I started living in another room to be by myself. He asked back for his health card, knowing that, this was the only way I would have received health care. He started to withhold funds, that he's not going to be giving me any money. So, my family and my friends really stepped up for me and gave me some money to go to school, stuff like that.
So, Sardia, what was your coping mechanism? And how were you relating to him during this time? Because
I had no relation. I just stopped. I stopped arguing. I stopped asking for anything. At this point, my entire focus was finishing dental school. Okay. That was my focus. Okay. And I still took care of his daughter. I came home if she wanted something to eat, because he didn't even care either. He would be home and the child would be hungry.
What pulled you through? Because studying medicine is not easy, and to deal with all these challenges that are coming at you.
I had this music, being a part of this group, my support family from Hosanna, my family, my sisters and my mom and everybody. That was it. That was just my complete focus. I knew that, every Sabbath I would have a break. I would go. That was my escape. And then I start again on a Monday. But the aim of this thing was to just finish. Okay. And that was my focus. Okay. That was the only thing that fueled everything that I was doing. And I was serious. I was adamant that I was, this doesn't make any sense, because you're making my life worse. You're making things miserable for me. I got assistance from persons for my school fee in the latter part. Everybody pitched in, kind of help. I had strangers who would give me money. There was a GoFundMe account that was set up for me. And I had friends who supported it and give me loans. Persons gave money. And that was how I was able to finish. But at the end of, when I came to the final part of school, I decided that, maybe this is really not where I'm supposed to be. And I told him that I wanted to divorce. And he didn't agree. This is all while he is now seeing other people. Seeing other people. He has started seeing other people. As a matter of fact, he started bringing women into the house that we both lived in. And I remember going into the account that he had and seeing him sending money to all of these women. And now I understand why he didn't have any money, because he was paying out, all of these girls. And at one point I broke my phone and I asked him if I could borrow a phone. He gave me an iPhone. And when I loaded the iPhone, his stuff came down because the phone was wiped. But I don't know how, his WhatsApp and stuff came. And what I saw was years of infidelity, years. Wow. There was about 15, 20. He's never been a single person, as far as I'm concerned.
That's revelation, right?
Right. And he's never been with one woman, never, even with me. So he was with multiple women all this time, even while asking me to get married and all of that, multiple women. So I realized that it continued and it got worse. And I just tell him that, no, that's it. That's the final straw. So I thought. On that premise, I was getting a divorce, but I wasn't comfortable within myself because I knew that my family and my Christian values were that divorce is not the way. But I needed something else. I had called my lawyer and she said, this was Friday. And she said, I can come on Monday at 10. And I said, okay, fine. This was when I was finishing up school now. I was basically finished. My stepdaughter said to me on Sunday that she had something to say to me. And she started to cry. And she said, you can't tell my dad. You can't say anything to anybody. And when she told me that her brother is my father's child, I said, She said, yeah, she saw all of his name has their last name. All of his books, his birth certificates, everything had their last name. I was taken aback because this child is now 6. I would have been married for 8 years at the time. So it means that this child would have been born within my second year of marriage, or she probably might have been even pregnant within my first year. Now he has given me just cause to do this divorce in peace and free myself. So when my family heard about it, they were in agreement because this is what it is, So the fact that he was still in a relationship with the mother of his child, in a relationship with multiple other women at the same time, gave me all the grounds. When I filed the divorce, he didn't want it. He was not interested in signing. All at the same time, he was still with somebody else. He was just doing a lot of things. And I realized that he's just constantly lying about stuff. So, I told him that at this point, that's the end of it. I focused on school, got my name changed, got my father's name on my degree. I made sure all of that was done at the end. And I just left.
So how many years were you technically married for?
Legally married for 8 years.
8 years. So you've been through roughly 6 years of hell, 5+ years of hell.
Yes.
Morgan, your name is Morgan. Is that your father's name?
That's my father's name. That's my name, Morgan, yes.
Okay. For those persons looking to get married, what would be your message to them at this point?
Don't rush it. Just wait. Your time will come. And don't look for the surface things. There are so many other important things. Can this person support my dream? Can this person support himself or herself financially? You don't want somebody coming in who can't support themselves. I mean, what are their morals? Are they aligned with yours? What is this person requiring of you in a marriage? Are they requiring you to be the helper, to be the maid? Or are they looking for a partnership, right? So you want to ensure that you have the same morals, you have the same values, and you want basically a mirror version of yourself. So you can see yourself in this person. You can see this person, having understanding. But one of the major things that you want when you get married, 2 things. You can't marry somebody who is selfish, and you must marry somebody who has a conscience. If the person doesn't have a conscience, then they will not have any care about you at all. They will always care about themselves. So when you have a conscience, you think about somebody else. You think about how your actions affect other people. You think about, how am I going to make this person happier today? This is about somebody else and not about yourself. So if you don't have a conscience, and if you're a selfish person, and if your life is all about taking care of yourself, don't get married.
Looking into retrospect, while courting this man, did you see any hint of selfishness or somebody who was unconscious?
Yes, now looking back, I can see it. But when you are there in the front of things, you're trying to settle down, you don't see everything, and that's the honest truth. People will change on you, and not just that, people will pretend, because I know that I have friends who have pretended to be my friends for many years.
Right.
Many years. And in Jamaica, they have this proverbs that say, see me and come live with me is 2 different things. And that's so true. But you have to communicate with people constantly. You need to see this person when they're upset. You need to see this person when they're sad. You need to see this person when they're happy. You need to see this person in all of their aspects. They need a lot of spirituality in your marriage in order for it to work as well. You have to pray together. You have to make sure. That was something that I always ticked off. The person had to have some amount of God-fearing, godliness in them. And people, you have to be honest. When you come and you want to be married and you want to settle down, be honest with people. If you're not interested in settling down and, having a life, be honest. So I recently got married to an amazing...
Before you tell us about this new relationship or this this newfound love that you're currently enjoying. I want you to speak a little about mental health, because this is why I say that you're a strong Black woman, because all that you have mentioned in your story is really, really impressive.
Yes.
To me, because what you went through, perhaps I couldn't have gone through, and vice versa. But I have to say, you're a strong person to deal with medical school, which is not easy, and to deal with all these things that were coming at you like darts.
Yes.
While completing, and of course, you didn't mention that you completed dentistry school, but you did successfully.
Yes, I did. Yes, with the help of God. In the last part, I failed one course, and my lecturer was like, "Well, you don't have failing grades, so how all of a sudden?" But at that point, I had gotten to my burnt out, tired point, because this is now having classes at 8:00, leaving dental school at 2 a.m. to get back to school at 8 a.m. And, even those things, he didn't care. He didn't say, you want me to come and pick you up when we had a car? How am I going to get home? I had to do that all by myself. I had to get in a taxi. Good thing I had friends that we lived, near enough to walk with. And I'm walking home at 2 a.m. in the morning by myself, and I have a husband at home who didn't even care. Right. And how I went through all of that was I learned to decompartmentalize things in my brain. I don't make all of them connect. Because you see, once you do that, that is when your mental health slides away even more. Because what I do is dental school is separate from my marriage. I don't make my marriage bother me with my grades. That's how you have to do it. You have to compartmentalize. I don't know how to explain it.
What did you tell yourself? Because you had to tell yourself something to decompartmentalize. Yes. What did you tell yourself?
This is my escape. That's my escape. So I buried myself in my studies. I buried myself in everything. Of course, there were times when I cried a lot and I was stressed a lot but then I always remind myself that I have to get up. I have to finish. Like, if you don't finish, he's going to tower over you. If you don't finish, you're not going to get out. If you don't finish, you're not going to, reach where you want to reach. That is how I did it, and I use music. Yes, I use music to escape a lot. When I sang in the group, that was, my little mental break. My friends really pulled me in my class, because they saw what was happening. At one point, there was an incident where he came to the school, demanding that he wanted to see me. The security had to, they protected me. And I really got through that with friends, with music, and with God. It's like I was walking with God this entire time through the years. And I'm like, God, this is you. This is what you have to do. I could not do it because your mind is telling you that you can't when God is telling you that you can. Right. Your mind is telling you that you can't make it when you know the possibilities out there are you can do it. So that was how I was able to encourage and motivate myself. And, I thought about my mother who, made it irrespective of all the odds. She had 11 children. All of us went to college, and those are some of the things. I'm like, I'm by myself. My mother had 11 kids. She never had anything. So I had all of those persons who I looked up to, and I drew energy from that. Right. And that was how I was able to pull myself through.
Your mother is certainly a motivating factor too. Yes. That she had nothing and had 11 kids who all went successfully through school. Yes. That's amazing. So go ahead now and tell us about your newfound love. How did you guys meet, and how did you know that this man is going to be the man for you for a second marriage?
I didn't want to get into a second marriage, honestly. I took that off the radar. I said, I'm just going to be a dentist. I'm going to help who I can help. I can do whatever I want and, just enjoy my singleness. But I kind of knew this person a little bit from the community where we were at. I knew of his family, his cousin and I went to primary school together, but we never really spoke, but we reconnected in 2020 and we spoke a lot. And what I realized is that this person is a mirror version of me. He laughed at my jokes. He thought that I was funny. He didn't tell me that I was, because my ex-husband told me that I must be quiet and I must, as I said, he was belittling me. Right. When I went out with my friends, he didn't want me to speak. He didn't want me to have a voice. He said I was too loud and I was embarrassing him. And, I was able to be myself with this person, whether I put my makeup on or whether I put my makeup off. He made me feel like I was my own individual person, whether or not he was there, and he accepted me for who I was. If we have a disagreement, we're able to talk about it, talk it through and work it through. That's important as well. You have to find somebody that you can communicate with, even when you're upset. And I found that with him. He's just a very jovial person, very calm. I can talk to him anytime about anything. Whatever feelings you have to find a partner that you can unearth your feelings. he was able to also help me to unearth some of the stress that I was going through, some of my mental blockages, some of, the things that I felt inside. He was able to open me up, really, and allow me to vent and express my emotions. He helped me overcome a lot, and I was very appreciative of that.
I'm so happy for you in the second marriage, really, because the fact that your surname is Helps.
Right? So when I tell people, everybody's like, wow, help has really come, man. And indeed it has. I'm not gonna lie.
I see it as a significant name, that help has really come. With all that you have gone through, I think this could very well be that blissful period of your life that you so much deserve after going through all of that. Divine help has finally come, and you can live the way you ought to live as a wife.
Yes. He shows me that he's responsible, and he has stepped up to the plate more than I have asked for. He prays for me more than I pray for myself. You need somebody who is constantly thinking about you. He said to me, this marriage thing is really about waking up every morning and choosing this person. Whether or not I feel like doing it, I have to choose you. I have to look about you. I have to care about you. I have to take care of you. And that's how we are with each other. You wake up in the morning, you remember that, okay, this is the person that I'm with, and I have to stick with this person.
Right.
So that's where we are at. So we're trying to, putting things together to settle our lives together. So
tell me, what is that one motivating factor that resonates within you, that gives you that sense of security that what happened in your previous marriage won't replay in this one?
My husband has a conscience.
Talk about it, girl.
My husband is a very considerate person. My husband is me. My husband is me, the mirror version of myself. You see, whatever I expect, he expects it too. He's a very kind person. He's a very loving and caring person. And he's not only thinking about himself, he thinks about others. And that was something that I want. I didn't want somebody who was selfish, not just, about me and him, about others too. So we help people as much as we can. That's amazing to find somebody who has the same morals and values that you have. So once your morals are properly aligned, then you should have a good marriage, a good relationship.
Right. You wrote a devotional book.
Yes.
Tell us a little about that. What inspired it? Where are you with it now? And what's the plan?
Well, I started writing as one of my escape measures when I was going through my marriage. And I realized that I had the first marriage, I had this really good writing skills. So, I started jotting down things. I started a blog page on Facebook, The Real Love Mission, where I started to, send out inspirational notes and, stuff like that. And persons who always say, you need to pen a book together. So I have in the pipeline 3 books actually, but I'm doing this devotional first. Okay. I'm doing the autobiography after. And then I have another book about the strength of women pulling together, because that had really helped me in my first marriage and through dental school as well. I realized how important women being together, supporting each other really is. We underestimate the importance of women togetherness, but it's really, really important. So the first one though is this devotional that I have. I have been reading a lot of devotionals, but I don't find most of them really practical, like, pinpointing exactly, actual values and, that we need to put out. Most of them we talk about how you need to love God and you need to, God is good.
Right.
But I wanted it to be a little bit more practical and pinpoint on things that we need to do. So I spoke about friends. I spoke about not being too judgmental of others. So it's really an eye-opener, and I hope that persons will be blessed by it. I'm in the editing stage, trying to get it out. Within the next couple of weeks, it should be out. So you should look for it.
What's the name of it?
So it's called Self-Reflection. It's a 30-day devotional.
Self-Reflection. Okay. Of course, I'll provide a link to your Instagram page. Yes. So eventually when the devotional comes out, then they'll...
Yes, I will also do a little launch thing on it.
Right.
Yes.
This was a very enjoyable, important, and powerful conversation, Sardia.
Yes.
Thank you so much for taking the time to share with us. And I believe somebody, if not several other persons who listen to this interview, is going to walk away with hope, strength, hoping that...
I just want to say, for the women out there who are in their relationships and you feel like you're struggling Choose yourself. Choose yourself. I'm not advocating for the destruction of marriages, because that's never what I would have wanted for myself or anyone else. But if you're being abused, if you're being belittled, if you're being berated, choose yourself, because believe me, nobody's going to choose you. So if you choose yourself by going to counseling and praying for your husband and any changes, that's great. Choose yourself. Whatever method you will use to choose yourself, choose yourself. Find yourself with some women, Bible-based, spirit-based women who will support you, family members who will support you. Don't leave yourself out in the cold. Don't go home and cry by yourself at night. And those things will make you sick. Stress will make you sick. Depression will make you sick. Choose yourself. Find somebody. And even in my sojourn, I realized that God always sends someone for me. Always, always, always. And in the last part of my situation, God sent my husband. God sent Richard. I knew that in this moment, it might change later on. We might be miserable, two miserable, happily married people, whatever way you want to put it. But in this moment, God sent him for me. And I know that God will send somebody, a friend. When I wanted my school fee to be paid, God sent a friend. God will send somebody for you. But you have to choose yourself.
Well said. I need not add anything to that. And I will just reiterate what you just said. Choose yourself, and don't forget that God will send somebody for you. Thank you so much for taking the time to share.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to today's reflection. Join me next week for another episode. Until then, stay blessed.